Satoru, a 29-year-old, leads a dull life, as his passion for being a manga artist isn't enough to pay the bills. He works as a pizza delivery boy too. Despite his ordinary life, Satoru has a unique gift. He sometimes experiences a phenomenon he calls revival. It happens when he's about to witness a tragedy. He's sent back a few minutes in time, giving him a chance to prevent the disaster. These revival moments occur suddenly and without warning. This also happens on a seemingly normal day, as Satoru delivers pizzas. Following a revival, Satoru spots an unconscious truck driver about to hit a child in the street. He manages to save the child just in time but gets hit by the truck in the process. Later, he wakes up in the hospital with his co-worker Eri beside him, commending his bravery in rescuing the child. After being discharged from the hospital, Satoru discovers his mother Sachiko in his apartment, preparing a delicious meal. To his dismay, she announces her intention to stay with him for a while, offering support after his accident. As they chat over dinner, Sachiko brings up the terrible events from Satoru's childhood. At 10 years old, their town was struck by a series of brutal kidnappings and murders involving 3 children. His close friend, 20-year-old Yuki, was found guilty of the crimes. A few days later, while visiting a local shopping center with Sachiko, Satoru has his next revival. He tells his mother that something feels off, and Sachiko unknowingly stops a little girl's abduction by making eye contact with the would-be kidnapper. Sachiko thinks about the incident, finding the potential kidnapper strangely familiar. She eventually realizes she knows who he is and believes he's the true culprit behind the kidnappings 18 years ago. Eager to share her revelation with Satoru, she waits for him. However, an unidentified man breaks into the apartment and kills Sachiko before she can disclose her suspicions. Upon returning home and discovering his mother's lifeless body, Satoru drops to his knees, devastated, and sees the knife in her. Out of the blue, his neighbor appears in the doorway, sees Satoru's blood-stained hands, and panics, calling the police. When the police arrive to arrest Satoru for his mother's murder, he manages to flee. Distraught, he runs down the street until he suddenly finds himself in an unfamiliar environment. As Satoru fully regains consciousness, he realizes he just experienced an unusually long revival. He's back in his hometown, but as a 10-year-old in 1988, the year of the kidnappings. Overcoming his initial confusion, he deduces that his bizarre situation is a second chance to prevent multiple tragedies: the kidnappings of the 3 children in 1988 and his mother's murder. Elated to see his mother alive again, Satoru quickly sets out to prevent the first kidnapping, targeting his classmate Ko. He believes that befriending her is the best way to keep her safe. However, he soon learns that Ko's home life is difficult, as evidenced by her reserved demeanor and the bruises on her legs. Satoru's friend Kenya admires his efforts to connect with Ko and directs him to a piece she has written. The text, titled "The Town Where Only I Am Missing," is a heart-wrenching story hinting at Ko's tough life and the daily abuse she endures from her mother. Subsequently, Satoru invites Ko to his upcoming birthday party and discovers they share the same birthday, March 2nd. Recalling that Ko was still 10 years old when she vanished in March 1988, he deduces that her kidnapping must occur on March 1st. This leaves Satoru with 11 days to alter the course of events. While searching for Ko in the park, he encounters Yuki and enjoys a pleasant afternoon with him, reinforcing his belief that the kind-hearted young man couldn't possibly be a ruthless killer. Satoru now has another person to rescue from the tragic events, Yuki, who faces the death penalty in Satoru's present time, 2006. Later, when he continues his search for Ko at her house, he discovers her huddled on the shed floor, scantily dressed and covered in bruises. However, her mother Akemi soon finds them, orders Ko back inside, and sends Satoru home. The following day, Satoru speaks with his teacher Yashiro, who discloses that he had long suspected Ko's abuse by her mother but has struggled to involve the youth welfare office. In class, Ko is accused by her classmate Misato of stealing the students' lunch money. However, Satoru and Yashiro quickly put an end to the false claims. That evening, Satoru surprises Ko with a walk through the forest, leading her to a majestic Christmas tree. They hold hands and admire it under the starlit sky. A few days before the planned abduction, Satoru invites Ko to the local science center to spend the day with her, keeping her away from her mother. As they stroll through the science center, Satoru experiences a strange déjà vu, suddenly recalling that he was there 18 years ago. On Tuesday, Day X arrives. Satoru spends the entire day with Ko at the youth center and escorts her home in the evening. He watches her house throughout the night and breathes a sigh of relief when midnight passes without incident. The next day, while shopping for their birthday party, Satoru experiences another déjà vu at the supermarket. At home, the birthday duo is greeted warmly by their friends and Sachiko, and they enjoy a festive celebration together. Satoru falls asleep content and relieved, believing he has successfully changed the future and prevented the tragedy. The following day, Satoru hurries to school after oversleeping, only to be shocked that KO isn't there. Distraught, he realizes he hasn't prevented her disappearance but merely delayed it by 2 days. 6 days later, the second victim, Aya, a girl from a neighboring school, also vanishes. The events from 18 years ago seem to be unfolding almost identically once again. Passing KO's house a few days later, Satoru observes Akemi coldly discarding KO's belongings. Overwhelmed by despair, he runs frantically down the street until he suddenly finds himself back in 2006 as a 29-year-old man. The next day, after oversleeping, a shocked Satoru rushes to school only to find KO absent. Distressed, he realizes he didn't prevent her disappearance, just delayed it by 2 days. 6 days later, the second victim, Aya, a girl from a nearby school, goes missing as well. The events from 18 years ago appear to be repeating in an almost identical manner. A few days later, as Satoru passes KO's house, he sees Akemi heartlessly throwing away KO's possessions. Consumed by despair, he runs wildly down the street until he abruptly finds himself back in 2006, a 29-year-old man once more. While Eri packs items at her home to take to Satoru, she receives a chilling message on her phone, seemingly from Satoru. Suddenly, her room fills with thick smoke, followed by a violent explosion. When Satoru arrives at Eri's burning house, he rushes inside to rescue her. Struggling to carry her alone, the manager appears and helps him. To avoid encountering the police, the manager takes over carrying Eri for the last stretch to the door. Before Satoru escapes through the back door, Eri slips her phone into his pocket. After reading the message on Eri's phone, he promptly calls one of his mother's former journalist colleagues and arranges a meeting. A man called Sawada tells Satoru about official reports from the 1988 kidnapping series. Each act had one thing in common: they accused Yuki of being a criminal. Sachiko, who discovered the true identity of the kidnapper, was probably killed by that same person to keep him hidden. Later on, Satoru meets Eri under a bridge, and she shares her suspicion that a man named Nishizono started the fire at her house. Suddenly, the police show up to arrest Satoru. As he walks to the police car in handcuffs, he spots a man among the investigators who seems oddly familiar. Just before getting into the police car, Satoru realizes he still has a mission to finish. He manages to trigger a revival back to 1988 by sheer force of will. He ends up at the Science Center on February 28, experiencing déjà vu and finding himself in the same timeline as before. Now, Satoru has a third chance to alter the course of events. The following day at school, Kenya talks to Satoru about the significant change in his behavior he's noticed in recent weeks. He offers to help Satoru save KO. On March 2, when Satoru and KO come back home, they're once more greeted with a surprise birthday party from their friends. They spend a happy day together. However, to ensure things don't repeat themselves, Satoru briefly leaves the party to visit Yuki's house. He throws a stone through the window, giving Yuki a solid alibi since the police will be busy with him that night. Next, Satoru goes after KO's mother, Akemi, intending to push her down a flight of stairs. But Kenya stops him just in time, making Satoru realize that there must be other ways besides killing Akemi. The two return to the party, and on the way home, Satoru shares his new plan with KO. He wants to kidnap her, with her permission, and take her to an old, deserted bus where she'll hide for a few days. However, on the second night in the bus, something eerie occurs. An unknown man enters. KO manages to hide until the stranger leaves, but the incident frightens her. On March 3, Yashiro tells Satoru he has notified the Youth Welfare Office about KO's disappearance and plans to visit KO's mother that evening. But when the officials arrive, they only find an empty house. In the bus, KO requests Satoru to stay overnight, fearing the mysterious intruder might return. She points out a backpack and a cardboard box that appear to belong to the perpetrator. Examining the contents, Satoru feels uneasy, recognizing the kidnapper's tools. This means they're now in the middle of the criminal's territory and the same cycle of crime. Satoru decides to take KO to his home, where she can spend the night safely. On March 4, after enjoying her first ever homemade breakfast, KO returns home with Satoru and Sachiko. Akemi is furious about her daughter's disappearance, but her outburst is interrupted by Child Welfare Services officials. When Akemi tries to take KO to the police, she's unexpectedly stopped by her estranged mother. She pleads and apologizes for not providing more support during Akemi's abusive relationship with her ex-husband and later when she became a single mother to KO. Akemi and her mother embrace each other tearfully, and her mother promises to take good care of her granddaughter Ko. As they part ways, Ko thanks Satoru for saving her life. With Ko now safe, Satoru focuses on the next two kidnapping victims, starting with Aya, a girl from the neighboring school. He follows Aya to learn about her habits and daily routines. During this, he encounters his mother and soon after, his teacher Yashiro, who offers to drive them home with their heavy shopping bags. In Yashiro's glove compartment, Satoru finds a suspicious stash of lollipops, which the teacher attempts to dismiss with a weak excuse. The following day, Satoru and his friends introduce themselves to Aya. Initially suspicious, Aya is persuaded by Kazu to check out their secret hideout. As Aya and Kazu get along very well in the following days, Satoru believes she's in good hands and focuses on the third victim, his classmate Hiromi. Hiromi tells Satoru that he noticed Misato being ostracized by classmates since the day she falsely accused Ko of stealing. Suspecting lonely Misato could be a new target, Satoru follows her to the hockey rink but loses track of her after she seemingly doesn't return from the restroom. Satoru runs into Yashiro, who informs him that Misato just left the building. At that moment, a van belonging to Yuki's family drives by. Satoru and Yashiro decide to pursue the van in their car, but Yashiro suddenly reveals himself as the true culprit. He is deeply resentful of Satoru for constantly thwarting his plans over the past weeks, almost as if he knows the future. As a result, Yashiro devised a revenge plan, using Misato as bait to lure Satoru to the hockey rink and into his car. Now, the car is headed toward a frozen lake. Yashiro exits the car and watches as it slowly sinks through the ice, while Satoru struggles to free himself from the rigged seat belt. As Satoru submerges into the icy water, beautiful moments from his life flash before him. In 2003, Satoru awakens from a coma. His mother cared for him every day for 15 years, enabling him to make rapid progress with intensive physiotherapy. Though he slowly regains control of his body, his memory of the event seems lost. However, a visit from Kenya and Hiromi helps Satoru gradually piece together the puzzle of his past. Ko visits Satoru later, now married to Hiromi and carrying their baby. Another old acquaintance, Yashiro, is eager to see Satoru after his awakening from the coma. Now a successful high-ranking politician under the false name Nishizono, Yashiro takes advantage of Satoru's memory lapses, posing as the good old class teacher who regularly visits his former student at the hospital. However, Satoru's memories of Yashiro's murder attempt and the kidnapping attempts on his school friends slowly return, something Yashiro starts to suspect. Yashiro takes Satoru in his wheelchair to the hospital roof and accuses him once more of having consistently foiled his plans 15 years ago. He threatens to kill Satoru, but Satoru knows something is stopping him, the mystery of how Satoru could foresee and prevent Yashiro's plans back then. Anger and fascination with Satoru have given Yashiro's life meaning over the past 15 years, and Satoru is confident that Yashiro won't harm him due to their strong bond. This belief is confirmed when Satoru attempts to throw himself off the roof, and Yashiro catches him at the last moment. Upon realizing he truly cannot live without Satoru, Yashiro begins to cry, releases Satoru, and attempts to throw himself off the roof as well. However, just before doing so, Yashiro sees that Satoru's fall has been stopped by Kenya and Hiromi. Satoru had informed his friends days earlier that his memory had fully returned and that Yashiro was the perpetrator behind the crimes. Together, they devised a plan, and now the police are on the roof, prepared to arrest Yashiro for attempting to murder Satoru once more. A few years later, Satoru successfully pursues his passion and becomes a renowned manga artist. One day after work, he goes for a walk and coincidentally meets Eri under the bridge where they once were, when Satoru unknowingly experienced his final revival many years ago, ultimately leading to the salvation of numerous lives. And that is the end of the anime. Please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.